This recording is for Reading Check 12, which is pages 76 through 81. At this point, Montag has gotten off the train and he's running to Faber's. Who is it? Montag, out here. What do you want? Let me in. I haven't done anything. I'm alone, damn it. You swear it? I swear. The front door opened slowly. Faber peered out, looking very old in the light and very fragile and very much afraid. The old man looked as if he had not been out of the house in years. He and the white plaster walls inside were much the same. There was white in the flesh of his mouth and his cheeks, and his hair was white, and his eyes had faded, with white in the vague blueness there. And his eyes touched on the book under Montag's arm, the Bible. And he did not look so old anymore, and not quite as fragile. Slowly his fear went out. I'm sorry. One has to be careful. He looked at the book under Montag's arm and could not stop. So it's true. Montag stepped inside, the door shut. Sit down. Faber backed up, as if he feared the book might vanish if he took his eyes from it. Behind him, the door to a bedroom stood open, and in that room a litter of machinery and steel tools were strewn upon a desktop. Montag had only a glimpse before Faber, seeing Montag's attention diverted, turned quickly and shut the bedroom door and stood holding the knob with a trembling hand. His gaze returned unsteadily to Montag, who was now seated with the book in his lap. The book. Where did you? I stole it. Faber, for the first time, raised his eyes and looked directly into Montag's face. You're brave. No, said Montag. My wife's dying. A friend of mine's already dead. Someone who may have been a friend was burnt less than 24 hours ago. You're the only one I knew might help me to see. Faber's hands itched on his knees. May I? Sorry. Montag gave him the book. It's been a long time. I'm not a religious man, but it's been a long time. Faber turned the pages, stopping here and there to read. It's as good as I remember. Lord, how they've changed it in our parlors these days. Christ is one of the family now. I often wonder if God recognizes his own son, the way we've dressed him up. Or has it dressed him down? He's a regular peppermint stick now, all sugar crystal and saccharine, and when he isn't making veiled references to certain commercial products that every worshipper all absolutely needs. Faber sniffed the book. Do you know that books smell like nutmeg or some spice from a foreign land? I loved to smell them when I was a boy. Lord, there were a lot of lovely books once before we let them go. Faber turned the pages. Mr. Montag, you are looking at a coward. I saw the way things were going a long time back. I said nothing. I'm one of the innocents who could have spoken up and out when no one would listen to the guilty. But I did not speak and thus became guilty myself. And when finally they set the structure to burn the books using the firemen, I grunted a few times and subsided, for there was no other grunting and no yelling with me by then. Now it's too late. Faber closed the Bible. Well, suppose you tell me why you came here. Nobody listens anymore. I can't talk to the walls because they're yelling at me. I can't talk to my wife. She listens to the walls. I just want someone to hear what I have to say Maybe if I talk long enough, it'll make sense. And I want you to teach me to understand what I read. Faber examined Montag's thin, blue-jowled face. How did you get shaken up? What knocked the torch out of your hands? I don't know. We have everything we need to be happy, but we aren't happy. See, this is what I tested you guys on before. Montag is very unhappy, and he's aware that no one is truly happy, and they're covering up their unhappiness with distractions. People do reckless things, engage in reckless behavior, hit other people, right? These are all ways of trying to deal with something without really dealing with it, by ignoring it, pushing it aside. Something is missing. I looked around. The only thing I positively knew was gone was the books I'd burned in 10 or 12 years. So I thought the books might help. You're a hopeless romantic, said Faber. It would be funny if it were not serious. It's not books you need. It's some of the things that once were in books. The same things could be in the parlor families today. The same infinite detail and awareness could be projected through the radios and televisors, but are not. No, it's not books at all you're looking for. Take it where you can find it. In old phonograph records, old motion pictures, and in old friends. Look for it in nature and look for it in yourself. Books were only one type of receptacle where we stored a lot of things we were afraid we might forget. There is nothing magical in them at all. The magic is only in what books say, how they stitched the patches of the universe together into one garment for us. Of course, you couldn't know this. Of course, you still can't understand what I mean when I say all this. You are intuitively right, though. That's what counts. 3 things are missing. I want you guys to pay attention to what Faber says is missing from the lives of people in order to make them enriching, in order for them to get what Montag believes that they've lost. Okay? Number 1, you know why books such as this are so important? Because they have quality. This book has pores. It has features. This book can go under the microscope. You'd find life under the glass, streaming past in infinite profusion. The more pores, the more truthfully recorded details of life per square inch you can get on a sheet of paper, the more literary you are. Now, that's my definition anyway. Telling detail, fresh detail, the good writers touch life. Often the mediocre ones run a quick hand over her. The bad ones rape her and leave her for the flies. So now do you see why books are hated and feared? They show the pores in the face of life. The comfortable people want only wax moon faces, poreless, hairless, expressionless. We are living in a time when flowers are trying to live on flowers instead of growing on good rain and black loam. Even fireworks, for all their prettiness, come from the chemistry of the earth. Let me spell this out for you guys real quick. So Faber is making the point that quality must come from imperfection, that it's realness, that books give that human experience realness that the television in their time is not, right? That I see in social media, like where things are glossy and perfect and poreless, right? We airbrush over everything. And Faber says that that's not good. That's not how you get quality in your life. You need that ugliness. You need the dirt because the dirt grows beautiful things. Okay. Yet, somehow we think we can grow feeding on flowers and fireworks without completing the cycle back to reality. Do you know the legend of Hercules and Antaeus, the giant wrestler whose strength was incredible so long as he stood firmly on the earth? But when he was held rootless in midair by Hercules, he perished easily. If there isn't something in that legend for us today in this city in our time, then I am completely insane. Well, there we have the first thing I said we needed: quality, texture of information. And the second? Leisure. Oh, but we've plenty of off hours. Off hours, yes, but time to think? If you're not driving 100 miles an hour at a clip where you can't think of anything else but the danger, then you're playing some game or sitting in some room where you can't argue with a four-wall televisor. Why? The televisor is real. It is immediate. It has dimension. It tells you what to think and it blasts it in. It must be right. It seems so right. It rushes you on so quickly to its own conclusion. Your mind hasn't time to protest. What nonsense! Only the family is people. I beg pardon? My wife says books aren't real. Thank God for that. You can shut them. Say, hold on a moment. You play God to it, but who has ever torn himself from the claw that encloses you when you drop a seed in a TV parlor? It grows you any shape it wishes. It is an environment as real as the world. It becomes and is the truth. Books can be beaten down with reason, but with all my knowledge and skepticism, I've never been able to argue with a 100-piece symphony orchestra, full color, three dimensions, and being in and part of those incredible parlors. As you see, my parlor is nothing but four plaster walls. And here, he held out two small rubber plugs for my ears when I ride the subway jets. That's a smart man right there. Keep that Denham's dentrifice out. Denham's dentrifice. They toil not, neither do they spin, said Montague, eyes shut. Where do we go from here? Would books help us? Only if the third necessary thing could be given to us. Number one, I said quality of information. Number two, leisure to digest it. And number three, the right to carry out actions based on what we learn from the interaction of one and two. And I hardly think a very old man and a fireman turned sour could do much this late in the game. I can get books. You're running a risk. That's the good part of dying. When you have nothing to lose, you run any risk you want. There, you've said an interesting thing, laughed Faber, without having read it. Are things like that in books? But it came off the top of my mind. All the better. You didn't fancy it up for me or anyone, even yourself. Montague leaned forward. This afternoon, I thought that if it turned out the books were worthwhile, we might get a press and print some extra copies. We? You and I. Oh, no. Faber sat up. But let me tell you about my plan. If you insist on telling me, I must ask you to leave. But aren't you interested? Not if you start talking the sort of talk that might get me burnt for my trouble. The only way I could possibly listen to you would be if somehow the fireman structure itself could be burnt. Now, if you suggest that we print extra books and arrange to have them hidden in the fireman's house all over the country so that seeds of suspicion would be sown among these arsonists, bravo, I'd say. I think Faber is trying to make a joke there. But I'm pretty sure that Montague is going to take it to heart. Let's see what happens in the next reading check, though.